Well, let's go to Campbell as we do every time this week, and I do think the world is going mad. I don't know what's happened to Boris Johnson, but he's talking about banning petrol and diesel vehicles. Campbell, is this renewable business about electric cars and all the rest of it, is this going to go on here?
Look, I'm sad to say, Alan, if there's a candidate, it's on the Liberal side of the political divide, and it'd be Matt Kean, the Environment Minister in New South Wales, who I would suggest to be looking at that thinking, gee whiz, golly gosh, we should do that as well. Yeah. And, of course, Alan, look, electric cars are actually fantastic vehicles. They're also incredibly expensive at the moment. They're beyond the reach of, you know, the man and woman in the street. And, of course, our electricity system requires massive enhancement to actually roll out charging stations. Yeah. But also, Campbell, of course, it's powered by black coal.
Absolutely.
So it's just...
Absolutely. I mean, OK, the electric car mightn't emit carbon dioxide, but they're powered by electricity produced by fossil fuels. It's extraordinary. I spoke to Mark Latham earlier, and we've got this danger, as you mentioned, Keane, an electricity bill before the state parliament, 100% renewables. Now, according to the Australian Energy Market Operator, as of today, I'm speaking to you, 80% of all power comes from black coal. I mean, you're in the same boat. Let me ask you this. If Joel Fitzgibbon would have become leader of the Labor Party, I reckon half the Liberal Party would vote for him.
If Joel Fitzgibbon could get the Labor Party to actually listen to him, and there are signs that people now are. We saw Murray Watt from Queensland, Senator Murray Watt now talking the talk. I don't think Labor will walk the walk, but you know, all it would take for Albanese to go to do a tour through the Queensland coalfields, embrace coal mining workers in their high-vis vests and say, sorry guys, we got it wrong, we're with you 100% at that point. The Coalition are real trouble in Queensland, and Labor can win back seats. Alan?
I agree with you. I agree with you, Campbell. What about this marshal in South Australia? Someone lies to a contact tracer. I mean, how can that be an excuse for mishandling the matter? I mean, it's just beyond belief, these people, aren't they?
Look, it is just an excuse, and I've been watching the Premier of South Australia with just absolutely dismay about some of the things that he's been doing. Look, you know, 10-hour wait to be tested for COVID-19 shows a lack of preparedness. The knee-jerk reaction shows breathtaking incompetence. The on-again, off-again shows panic and a lack of preparedness. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And this is the bloke, by the way, who some months ago was actually complaining about South Australia. He was complaining the other day about South Australia being locked out by the states. But a few months ago, he was quite happy to seal the place off and not let people in and out.
Just astonishing, isn't it? And look, what about Scott Morrison? I don't know. I hate to be criticising the national leader. He's our Prime Minister, but he's never raised his voice against this Daniel Andrews, just bailing him out, billions of dollars tipped into Victoria. What do you think states like Queensland think of all of this? I mean, Victoria gets the goodies, Queensland pays the bill.
Yeah. It is extraordinary, Alan, and for someone who's watched the Prime Minister carry on about how good is Queensland, where we actually, you know, along with WA, mean that he's in office, whereas Victoria returns no significant number of warm bodies for the coalition on those benches. No. Yet Queensland's underrepresented, arguably, in the federal ministry, and then we see Daniel Andrews being bailed out and the Victorian economy being bailed out after the economic destruction the Labor Party have actually wreaked on the place. I say, Prime Minister, when does Queensland, and they're a Labor government, but when do they get their fair share up here in terms of the infrastructure works that this state needs to drive forward?
And when do you hold Daniel Andrews to account? Just before you go, your family is steeped in military service. How can these people ever get a fair trial? Disband number 2 squadron, that presupposes the guilt of the members of the squadron. And the Prime Minister said brutal truths. Apologise to the President of Afghanistan. Your father would be rolling over in his grave.
My dad would be deeply concerned, and as an ex-serviceman, so am I, because I feel, Alan, that while it's critically important we get to the bottom of whether Australians have committed war crimes, that at the moment are only allegations. But to disband 2 squadron suggests straight away that you're assuming guilt. It also, by the way, says everybody who served in the SAS's 2nd Squadron is sort of guilty by association. And look, if we're told that we've been told there's only a minority here, a very small number of people, but anybody who ever was in that subunit will be tarred with these terrible alleged crimes. So yeah, I think it's wrong. Yeah.
Campbell apologising to Afghanistan? Who's apologising to the families of the vets who come home and can't endure the anonymity and the fact that they've been abandoned and take their life? Who's apologising to them? Who's apologising to the diggers?
Alan, the Taliban have never apologised.
Never.
To the families of the soldiers who were shot in cold blood by a person who was being trained and mentored by some young Australians. There's been no apology there, and they might even get the perpetrator might even get released.
Campbell, you know? I think we have a crisis in Western political leadership, and the international world thinks our soldiers are criminals. This doesn't happen anywhere else. Some of these people making these noises better go over there and grab a gun themselves and see exactly what it's like. Terrible stuff. Campbell, always good to talk to you, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Alan.
There is those sentiments. He's served, his father has served. But out there, I think the public are right behind our soldiers, and stay in there and let them know that you're supporting them.